really fun one today. Conference Carolinas is celebrating its 90th anniversary. The official day is December 6th. But as part of the 90th anniversary, we've been kind of highlighting some different things that have gone on in the conference. And, you know, nothing happens in Conference Carolinas without its student athletes, right? And we got 3 elite student athletes from their time at King joining us today. We got Rodrigo Ville, Megan Henry, and Elizabeth Swallow joining us today. How y'all doing?
Good, Brian. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate y'all taking your valuable time, because we were talking a little bit off air. You got a lot going on, which is awesome. That's why we wanted to have you on here today. But that's where we'll get started with. If you could all kind of highlight where you are and, you know, what you've kind of been doing since you graduated from King, and we'll start with Ro.
All right. Yeah, so it's been like 6 years, I guess, since I graduated. And I did a physics and math major, but right now I actually run a marketing agency with my wife, who's working right here in front of me. And so yeah, this has been like quite a journey these past few years. We started this agency about 2+ years ago. And yeah, we actually mainly serve clients in the US. So yeah, that has been a big, thing for us. We're currently in Merida, which is in the state of Yucatan, near Cancun, like 3 hours west of Cancun. And yeah, we're really excited that we started this entrepreneur journey.
And we're all thinking how we'd love to be in Cancun or the area near Cancun right now, but sounds like a pretty good place to be right now. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Megan, what have you been up to since departing King?
Well, shortly after I graduated, I was able to get a job teaching biology at Sullivan East High School, very close to Bristol, maybe 15 minutes away. And I'm able to actually coach track and field at King as an assistant coach. I've continued my education. I've got my master's degree in instructional leadership, and I'm currently working on my EDS. So very busy.
So everybody loves school, obviously, and that leads to Elizabeth, who obviously loves school as well.
Yeah, I certainly do. Apparently, I graduated in 2016, and I went straight into a PhD program up in Indianapolis. So I'm a graduate student up here for IUSM, the School of Medicine. So yeah, just doing science. I was a biology math major at King, so I continued that theme, I guess. So just working in the lab. So that's been me for 5 years now. So still going.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And we joke about going to school, but that's really cool that everybody's continued to keep up with that, because at the end of the day, like we talked about kind of when we let in, that's what it's all about, is continuing to learn, and it's going to allow you to get to the next point. It really shows what the kind of student athletes we have in Conference Carolinas are. Ro, you kind of mentioned that you're back in the area now, but with everything that you got going on, and you originally, a lot of your family made their way to East Tennessee, made their way to the mountains, made their way to that area. Kind of talk a little bit through that, and kind of what were some of your favorite experiences at King?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my brother started there studying at King 2007. And that's actually what got me there, right? We both played tennis for King. And then my sister, my brother ended up also doing a master's in ETSU. And my sister went for her undergrad at ETSU. So the 3 of us were in the area. She came like 2 years or 3 years after me to like the Tennessee area, right? And actually, it's funny story, because right now the 3 of us are like in the Mayan Peninsula. So they're like in between Tulum and Valladolid and Merida. The 3 of us are still like almost like hanging around.
That's awesome.
And yeah, some of my favorite memories. Well, for sure, all the tennis matches, all the the support that we had from all the teachers and classmates, and just professors in the hallway wishing you luck, or and once in the match, like all the adrenaline and people supporting like from 5 courts away, right, screaming your name. Like I never experienced that, I guess, until I came to King, that support. So for sure, support, and also like kindness. I was really amazed when I got there, how kind people were, how gentle, as far as, just everybody would say hi to you, even if they didn't know you. or you were just walking in the oval, right? So those are, really good. Two of them, the best memories, like I take overall, right, from my King experience, for sure.
And Megan, you mentioned you kind of had the luxury to be able to kind of still create some memories there, right? And be involved and help out in different ways. But if you look back at your career, particularly as someone that kind of stayed close to home, what are some of the things that stick out to you of your time at King?
One of my favorite memories was actually winning the conference indoor and outdoor during my sophomore year. I think it was 2013, 2012. Our entire team, the women's team, came together and supported one another to win conference. So that was an amazing feeling. Just being able to compete at such a high level. Our coaches were able to get us to meets at like Clemson, UNC Chapel Hill, Western Carolina, especially coming from, small little Tennessee school. And also my high school in Bluefield, Virginia there was maybe a maximum of like 500 kids there. So we knew everyone. And I kind of got that same vibe at King because you knew everyone. Like I knew Ro, I knew Elizabeth. Actually, Elizabeth was in the same dorm as me. I was her RA. So it's just awesome to see like life full span or kind of full, see how we've developed since our time at King. So.
Elizabeth, and that's an awesome story. That kind of tells the story of like what it's like to be a student athlete, not just there at a lot of places, but particularly at a smaller school that is so institutionally directed by the students and enrollment driven. It's really cool to hear. But Elizabeth, you made your way across the pond, and you're still here now. You're still in the States now. But when you look back at your time at King, what are kind of some of the things that stand out to you?
Absolutely. I think it's just the opportunity to come out and to take that opportunity to go and play, and also just grow as a person, grow as a player when I was playing golf, and just I think those small school experiences as well, like you create second families, especially when you are away from your own family. And I think I look the people on this literal screen, like we're part of creating that family, going around and like having dinner at Rose, and like Esther was a teammate, and like right, and then Megan was sort of like your I don't know, sort of like your mum figure in your dorm. So like, I think all of these experiences creating close connections for me, like, playing the golf was great, but also like creating those personal connections were like so much better. And I think some of them continue till today. And I think that's really important. And I love
agree.
that. So
Totally.
That's awesome. That's what, you're right. That's exactly what it's all about, is those connections. And that you obviously still have them to this day. And then, in this small world, as we talked about before we even got on here, social media has changed it where we can keep up even more than we used to. But I know it's really cool for y'all to be back together, just kind of casually talking through some things, but also, just to see each other, which is awesome. And, one of the things that stood out to me as I was researching our talk today was all three of you were really good in what you did. I mean, listen, we got Players of the Year, Murphy Osborne winners. We got all academic, and that's just it. All of you cared about play on the field, off the field as well. And, can you talk through, like, if you were talking to somebody today, what you would talk about time management, what that looks like, how you did that even on your own ends with your high GPAs. What was that like for you as you were working through it, and how do you look back on that time now? We'll start with you, Ro.
Yeah, well, I think one of the main things for sure is having a schedule. There's a balance there that you need to take care of. Obviously, academics go first, and then your sport. But I mean, you also got family or friends, and other things that you need to get distracted, right? But for sure, setting priorities. That was one of the main things. And I mean, if you had not slacking, of course, like if you had a little bit of time, like get started with the studying, study ahead of time, because there's always either a match coming up or something that's gonna take most of your day. That was a big thing for I think I speak for all athletes, because traveling to these other cities, like 3 hours there, 3 hours back, the entire match, and hungry and tired and in the van, or I think we're all experienced pretty much the same. And I mean, I couldn't focus on the van to study, right? Like I would get dizzy or something. So I didn't like studying in the van. So I needed to get back home, even if it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I mean, do your dues, right? Like just to study and have a schedule and set priorities.
And Megan, you obviously have the ability to impart some of this wisdom to this day. But when you're talking through some of that, and you can give your own examples, how do you pass that along to the student athlete today?
Kind of like to hit off what Rose said. Organization is really important, and we're already constrained for time. So you need to figure out what study skills are best for you, because you have like a 2-hour period in between like your second practice of the day in a lab. So you have to use that time there. So figuring out if I need to use that time for a study group or go talk to a professor. Like our professors at King were phenomenal. They supported you while you were there, and they still support me to this day. In fact, I had to ask some of them to come and judge a science fair project here. And it was just phenomenal that they're like, absolutely, we'll help you out any way we can. So just make best use of the time that you have. Don't hesitate to ask for help, because they're there to help you. They want to see you succeed just as bad as you want to succeed as well. So.
And that you're exactly right. And Elizabeth, you play a sport where you got to go play rounds, and you also got to go do the practice stuff that takes a ton of time. Just like all of you'll have something like that. But with that, and trying to fit in what you wanted to do academically, how do you even carry that into what you're doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's difficult, and I'm not sure if there's a best way. I think it's going to be unique. That's the strategy for everyone. And I think I just have to, both Megan and Ro have said great things. I love to say you try and work smarter and not harder, but like, I don't know if I did that necessarily. I remember doing like long hours. Maybe I didn't quite get my schedule right. I probably sacrificed some sleep, and like that wasn't probably wise. So like, I think I did struggle trying to find that balance with the amount of time you spent on a golf course, and then finding enough time to like study too. I think if the one thing I would take away is realizing when something is good enough. I don't think I quite ever got that. I was like, no, I want it to be the very best. And there's a little bit of maybe too much perfectionism in that. And like, where can you give yourself a bit more slack? Where can you, I think that goes down to the priorities. Where do you need to put a bit more effort in? And finding that balance there, I think, would have been key for me. So.
And wow, what you say that's a valuable life lesson. I'm 40 now, and that's I'm a former student athlete myself. That's something you got to remind yourself even to this day, that, you want everything to be fantastic, but sometimes it's just not able to get there because of everything you got going on. And then you move on to make the next thing the best fantastic thing it can be, and trying to find that happy medium to make everything as good as possible. And that's just I really loved you saying that, because that's such an important thing to impart to a younger generation, or just anybody, because that's really what sports is those life lessons to get us ready for those next parts of life. So thank you all for your time on that one. But we mentioned as we started that we're celebrating 90 years of success in Conference Carolinas, and obviously all of you are kind of at the first parts of the King success to start, and in Division II, and then also into Conference Carolinas. You were a little bit behind that, but it hadn't been that long since King moved into Conference Carolinas. But if you look back at your time in Conference Carolinas, and I know you were all busy, but as you see where kind of things are now, how would you define Conference Carolinas to others, and what do you think is the future for Conference Carolinas? And I'll start with you, Ro.
Yeah, I think, one of the great things about, being in this community is the sense of belonging. You kind of feel us united, and, to be in all this together, because we all experienced I think we all have great memories of playing a sport and being part of the conference and playing with other schools, and the entire conference tournament with the dinner and the awards, and it wasn't only tennis, right? Or like, it wasn't only sport. It was a little bit of everything else. And I remember I still have like friendships from other players from other schools, right? And some Latino players, some like from Germany and so on. And so that part of being part of this community, I think is a great experience, and I'm really glad like still going on, because it's providing the same experiences for other student athletes coming into this world of community. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Megan, how do you tell the Conference Carolina story?
Honestly, like I get to picture it as an athlete, and I also now get to picture it as a coach, and I can see the competitiveness has actually like increased drastically from when I competed to now. And like all of the athletes are committed to bettering themselves, not only on the court or in the field, out on the range, but they're also bettering themselves academically. As I follow the Conference Carolinas online, I see the different academic awards that are earned by athletes as well. So
you're exactly right. And Elizabeth, you know, she mentioned the academic awards. I mentioned it earlier, y'all are part of those awards in the history. Y'all are in those history books looking at those things. But, you know, thinking back to your time, but also kind of paying attention now, what do you think about, and what do you tell about Conference Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's something to me, it was always something what's continually evolving. You know, I think, you know, schools are being added, more competition, like that provides more opportunity. And, you know, I think Ro touched on it. It's, you know, it's creating community. It was always great to, you know, see a fellow, you know, school from your own conference, maybe somewhere else, right? We were playing tournaments outside our conferences sometimes. So it's always good to see a neighbor. Right? Like you're in it together, you see a familiar face, it settles you on the range. Like all of these things, you know, it's providing that community who I think just helps within both, you know, in the sport as well. But yeah, academically, you're sort of encouraged to, you know, keep it sort of achieving and doing well. And, you know, academics are important. So.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And honestly, and I say this not just because you're on here, Conference Carolinas wouldn't be where it is without you today. But it also wouldn't be anywhere in the future without the success that y'all have had in the past and driving it to where it is today. As you mentioned, the continued evolution. Because if you're not evolving as a conference or as a school at King, you're not doing it right? That's what it's always about. You want to keep evolving. Same thing in the real world. You want to evolve every day and continue to grow and learn. So I appreciate all of you for your valuable time today. And it was really nice. And I think people are really going to enjoy this discussion. And we'll see everyone next time on Conference Carolinas Chats.